Mark Rogers TV and college football. Will Grier, we knew was not going to be the Florida quarterback for the next year. Now, the redshirt freshman quarterback has decided that he's not going to be the Florida Gators quarterback, period. We bring in David Waters to help us break down the Saturday announcement that Will Grier is going to transfer as the Florida quarterback and moving on to greener pastures, maybe, David. I can't say that I really understand the decision since he was suspended on October 12th for 1 year. He appealed the suspension. It was denied. So he's going to have to sit out. If he's going to play this level of football, going to have to sit out regardless.
Right. That's the big question. Why is he doing it? Jim McElwain had a press conference early last week and said, Will Grier would be part of the team after the bowl practice. He would come back and he would practice. He would be part of spring practice, and he would still be a Florida Gator quarterback, even knowing that he would miss the first 6 games of next year. Turns out that was not, I guess, a plan for Will Grier. We don't really know what his plans are. Was he told, he was not going to be automatically given the reins when he came back, which is probably what a coach should have told him. Who knows what, how a quarterback, whoever Florida chooses next year, how they'll be playing going, midway through the season of next year. So does the coach really, get rid of any rhythm that a current quarterback is coming? Yes, we know what Will Grier did, and he brought, the Florida offense some life this past year, but he's not going to be automatically given the job. So did he, finally come to that realization and then make the decision to transfer? And there's many options for him, and we'll see what happens there. But it was a weird situation, from the time he was suspended. It kind of just came out of nowhere. Florida football was looking good, looking fun again, and then that happened. And then, as you saw, the offense just pretty much fell apart after that.
So, David, with your last comment about Grier and there being no sign or warning that this could possibly happen, so there was nothing ever stated by Will Grier prior to this, or any rumors out there that he was disgruntled for any other reason prior to the PED situation?
Prior to the PED situation, no. And then after that, there were some rumors going around that maybe he wasn't doing what he needed to do once he got suspended, and you can't really dive too much into that. There's, like I said, there's rumors. I don't necessarily want to publicize those too much, of not really knowing and confirming what was really going on. But that was just keep it as general as I can. He just wasn't really doing the things he really needed to do. So maybe the coaches looked at that as a sign, and maybe it was time to move on. But like I said, it was early. The weird situation was it was early last week. McElwain said Grier was still part of the plan, still part of the option going forward. And then just a few days later, Grier announces he's transferring. So, what happened in between that time there, we'll probably never really know. There's going to be plenty of rumors out there of what really happened and what was going on with Grier. But it may, this turns out to be a situation better for both, that it was probably time to separate and go their own way, and both can learn and grow from it.
It's kind of odd if he wants to compete for a quarterback job at that level, at that type of program. There is going to be competition. He's not that good, doesn't have that type of track record that he's just going to walk into a job. So, David, in regards to his options going forward, his options of playing immediately versus having to continue to abide by transfer rules, how does that sort out?
If he wants to play game 1 next year, his only really option is to drop out, and go to a JUCO or really lower level division of football. The NCAA suspension won't follow him there, but of course it will if he decides to come back. So he could go JUCO for a year, come back, but if he does come back, that 6-month suspension, or that half a year suspension from what he's already served, still gets served. He can't run away from that suspension from the NCAA. If he can drop down to a lower level to where he can play half a season next year, he can go the FCS route. He'll still, the NCAA suspension will still follow him there, and he can play next year. And then, the big thing, if he does, like you said, want to stay in the FBS level where, the competition is going to be, extreme, he still will have to sit out a full year for transfer. And then that suspension, the NCAA suspension, does not coincide with that. So he'll still have to serve that suspension. So we could be looking at, a year and a half before Will Grier even takes another snap if he decides to go to the FBS level school. And does he look closer to home to go? Does he go to North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest? Those schools in the Carolina areas. Does he somehow maybe go back to South Carolina and reunite with Muschamp? There's plenty of choices. There's plenty of schools that would definitely be looking at Will Grier, what he did the first half of the season for Florida. But like you said, it wasn't like he was just great quarterback. He was getting better. And, it was the fourth quarter against Tennessee and the great game against Ole Miss. And then, struggled to get his last game against Missouri. But, that's, of itself. Missouri has a pretty good defense. So, Florida has plenty of options as well as Will Grier does. And we'll see what both do going forward.
Yeah, you alluded to him breathing some life into the Florida offense, some late game life, in particular against Tennessee. Had some really good numbers overall, the better numbers that we've seen since pretty much Tim Tebow left the program in 2009 in regards to touchdown interception ratio, completion percentage, throwing for just sheer yardage. So it's a small sample size, but how would you evaluate Will Grier as a quarterback against the likes of the better quarterbacks in the SEC and across the nation?
Like I said, with experience, you could just tell he was really getting better. And in the first 6 games, which was the games Will Grier played in last year, Florida averaged 32.2 points a game. Last 7 games of the season, Florida averaged 17.9, basically 18 points. Big difference there, 15-point difference. Passing yards per game, 246 with Grier. After Grier, 181. I think the big thing, and really, his completion percentage. He was 66% completion percentage all the way going down from when Treon Harris took over, 48%. So you could just definitely tell the offense was just in a better rhythm under Grier. It didn't look really spectacular at times, but it was just better just overall. And I really think the biggest difference between the two quarterbacks was the way the offensive line played. Will Grier knew he could feel the rush, he could get rid of the ball, and that really helped the inexperienced offensive line. And so that really, in turn, made the whole offense better. And when Treon Harris would come in, he would hold the ball too long, and that would, in turn, make the whole offense look bad. So, it was all in relation to how well Will Grier played and how well he could get rid of the football a lot faster than Treon Harris. So, moving forward, the team's going to get a good quarterback. He has some experience, going against pretty good defenses from his time, the first 6 games at Florida. But where is he at mentally, I think is really going to be the question. And maybe that was part of the reason he decided to transfer, and while Florida probably told him it may be best for him to transfer. Who knows where he was really at mentally and if he could really, bounce back from what he needed. So it probably looks like both, parties just needed a clean slate.
So Treon Harris is the guy against Michigan on New Year's Day. Then after that, 2016, what are the Jim McElwain options?
I do not see there's any possible way Treon Harris is a quarterback of Florida. Whether it is he twists his positions and wants to still be a Gator, or if he really wants to play quarterback, he's just going to have to transfer as well. I guess he could be, a second, third option, but with the freshman Florida's bringing in and Luke Del Rio, who was a transfer who had to sit out this year, he could not play. And from all, there was a pretty good report from a Gator great, Shane Matthews, who's a quarterback in the early 90s. He was at a few practices, and there are a few high school coaches that were, at a few summer camp preseason practices who, in their eyes, Luke Del Rio would have started if he was eligible to play. So, but take that with a grain of salt. They're watching practice. There's a lot of practices are set up. So, we'll see. But I would have to say going into spring, you're probably looking at Luke Del Rio as the first string quarterback. And then you have your early enrollees, Felipe Franks and Kyle Trask from Texas. That's probably going to be your top 3. Maybe throw Jacob Guy in there as well. There's your 4 quarterbacks that are probably going to go into spring ball to battle that out. And, we've seen, if a quarterback can get things going at Florida, the weapons are there, but it all, of course, starts with the quarterback.
Can't remember a time, David, we're not even in the off season that there's been this much upheaval at quarterback in one conference. The mess at Texas A&M. Auburn's got Sean White and Jeremy Johnson. They haven't been able to sort that out. Patrick Tolles transfers from Kentucky to Boston College and a few other places. And now Will Grier moving on from Gainesville. David Waters joins us to break down Will Grier. We've got a few people on the line. We'll be coming back to talk Outback Bowl. David, thanks so much.
Thank you.